Hello, I'm Steven Gerrard and this is my collection. So these are late 90s, 99, 2000, and I scored my debut goal against Sheffield Wednesday in these ones. Went past Des Walker, a hero of mine. In fact, I scored my first goal at Anfield.
It's going all the way. What a brilliant goal! Steven Gerrard.
So, I was living the dream. I was full-time. I was playing football and doing, used to be called jobs, but it's not a job when you're a full-time footballer, in my opinion. It's a buzz, it's a hobby, it's living the dream and chasing the dream that you want to do. So Jamie Redknapp was always the one that went out of his way for me. He was in different makes at the time. Sometimes he was in Adi, sometimes in different brands, but he was the one who used to always pass the boots down and look after you and treat you well. And it was something that I tried to pass on to people who was in and around me. So at Christmas time and different times, you used to always treat the kit managers as well with bonuses and kit that you didn't need. So I was probably one of the last generation to clean boots for first team players, but it was a role that it was never a chore. Used to clean the likes of Robbie Fowler's, Jamie Redknapp's, Don Matteo's, John Barnes. And once you become a first team player, the apprentices sort of clean your boots for you, but I used to always go over my own because I used to like my own finish on them. More polish, dubbing style, but once the Predators come, it was more about brushing it to make sure that the tools were clean at the front and there was nothing in the grooves, so you could get obviously better control and contact on the ball. So they needed more attention and more love, if you like, to get them right. I remember the launch of Predator in general, in the Craig Johnson days, and obviously the transformation of a leather boot and into Predator, and I was looking at them from afar. I wasn't in them at the time, and it was a bit jealous, if you like, that I wasn't in them at the time. Couldn't afford them, so desperate to get in them, desperate to get my hands on them, but unfortunately at the time I was an apprentice and I couldn't afford them. But I was fascinated by obviously the transition of where boots were going at the time. I think the standout thing for me is it was one of the earlier Predators that I wore. David Beckham at the time was a big hero of mine. He was obviously in them. Paul Gascoigne, Paul Ince. Paul Ince was the captain of Liverpool at the time. I used to look up to him a lot. So to get into the same boots and the same kit and equipment as the players that I used to look up to and watch, this was one of the earliest memories. And obviously I became a first team player in these boots, so really special boot.
Again, if you can state the game to start with.
Olympiacos.
Lovely cushion header. For Gerrard! You beauty!
When you talk about striking from distance and you talk about connection and contact, you don't feel the best ones. You can relate it to a golf shot, if you like, if people don't play football but they play golf, or any kind of sport. When it's about connection, you don't feel the best ones, and that strike came off the sweet spot on this boot and I didn't feel the connection. That's when you know you've hit the money shot. For me, it's about having every club in your bag, if you like. So obviously the position I play, it's about short passing, it's about medium range, long term, it's about arriving at the box, into the box for close-up finishes, it's about arriving on the edge of the box for long range efforts. And balls come at you in different ways. Some are rolled forward, some come from the side, some are bouncing, some you have to adjust to get where you think you are at your strongest. And the Olympiacos goal I had to adjust because I knew it was bouncing for a half volley. But I'd done that half volley millions and millions of times from the age of 6. And you don't always get them right, but I think if you practice and you improve at it and you obsessed to be better at your technique, that's when it comes right. I think when you play football every single day, they are your tools, whether it's the right word. it can give you an extra 5-10% in how you feel, in your confidence, in your belief, in your performance. It can have a detrimental effect if your boots don't feel right, if they don't look right, if you're about to go out and something's not right. It might only be a small detail, it might be comfort, it might be how it looks, how it feels. It might be something that you see when you look down. It might be something when you actually go out onto the grass, how you feel. So the importance of having it right in all different ways is so important. I think first and foremost, comfort and fit is the key, which I was blessed obviously to have purposely made, handmade boots if you like for myself. So the fit and comfort was almost key. Colour was important, there had to be certain colours. I was quite fussy with colours. The good thing about this one is the balance and the blend right of leather, but also having the tools as well would do a bit more finer, a bit more, you know, less obvious, but still there. And I think the balance right on this boot of comfort, accuracy, how it looked, still had the flip over tongues with the elastics, which are my favourite. Obviously because I scored my 2 most important goals in my career in this boot, and I scored with my head in the Champions League final, but in terms of the boot, the comfort, how it performed, how it felt, over 120 minutes, which can't be underestimated at that level of game. The boots were perfect. I scored probably arguably the most important goal in this red colour boot, in this model, but in terms of performance and the highlight of my career, it was in the black version of this, so that'd definitely be in my top 3 Predators, this model. Yeah. It's not my size, but it's definitely my model, and up there with my favourite Predators ever, because I wore this in the Champions League final in 2005. I think arguably the best moment of my career in terms of importance of goal. If you think about the stage, the platform, how big the Champions League final is, you know, the underdogs against AC Milan being 3 goals down. To step forward as a captain and a leader in the dressing room, you're constantly trying to support, trying to improve and push your mates and your teammates in the right way. I think it's important always to give the coach the floor first, for tactical changes, for him to address the team and the squad or anything individually that we need to know. But I think then, you know, there's always a moment at half-time for dressing room for players to step forward and talk, and I felt it was appropriate at the time. I didn't do it every game, but when you're 3-0 down and you've underperformed collectively and yourself, I think it's important to, you know, almost show vulnerability at the time and put yourself forward, take a lot of pressure and responsibility away from the group, but I think you're always the catalyst at that time. That's the reason behind it. I think I related to the fans first and foremost, because it's unique that you've still got the support of your fans at 3-0 down after playing so bad collectively. So I think it was important that we reset and we galvanised ourselves to show a bit of pride and at least give the fans something to talk about to go home to. So it was definitely, that was the starting point. Then it was about myself in terms of what I needed to change and what I needed to let the boys know that I was going to do different, in terms of it was, you know, time to take risks. It was time to forget about tactics, if you like. And they needed to know I was going to do that, because I was going to leave certain holes and take gambles and risks in the second half, and I needed to tell them that before we went out. Everything about it was right at the time, it felt right. The balance and the blend of the Predator, the blades, the rubber into the leather, the comfort of this boot, how it felt when you put it on, it was different. I know the goal was a header, but I was in these boots, so it's special, and probably the highlight of my career from a personal point of view. I'm going to go for 06 FA Cup final, and then these led into the World Cup after that.
He's got it! Oh, Steven Gerrard! It's surely the best cup final of modern times.
So probably in terms of 90 minutes or 120 minutes, probably the best performance, or one of the best performances I played during my career. Everything I done, or the majority of what I did on the day, came off. People think when you have some of the best games of your life, it's from the first minute all the way through. It's not. It's in moments, and in terms of the moments that I had in the game in 2006, everything came off for me, and it was in this boot. Before the goals, I set the first goal up, and it was over distance. I had to put it within probably a metre by metre area in the pitch for the first goal to happen. In terms of the ball I played for Cisse, you have to have the right boots on to deliver that pass. And then in terms of the strikes, they were both obviously, again, what I touched on earlier about timing, in terms of connection, in terms of feel going into the game. And these boots certainly delivered at the time.
Two players far post, here comes Gerrard! It's 2-2! It's Steven Gerrard for Liverpool!
Yeah, I think we've had different styles over the years. Some don't have the tongue, some are without the tongue, so obviously it's very different, but I always preferred the elastic with the tongue because it kept it in place. It stayed true. If you like, it didn't move or get in the way or become a distraction during the game. So the elastic's just as important as the tongue. They cut this one away a little bit. I think it's down to, again, the style of the Predator and the blade. And again, if you think about the two strikes in that game, the tongue's out of the way in terms of the area where the connection would have came from. So just a small detail, but very important. God knows if it would have been different, if the tongue would have been a different shape or in the way, if you like, it might have got a different contact or a different connection. That then can affect, obviously, time and accuracy or where it ends up for sure. These are pretty easy. So these boots were personalised, especially for my last Liverpool game. Again, I don't really judge these in amongst the rest because these are very different, these are unique and special to me. They were a surprise, so that's the reason why there's no flip over tongue, because if it was my choice I maybe would have put a flip over tongue on them, but in terms of comfort and feel and touch and a class surprise and present from Adidas, that's what these boots are. I wore these in the last game, or the last few games, certainly the one at Anfield. I think all these special red lines are like passes and goals I've scored over the years. Obviously, You'll Never Walk Alone, your initials, kids' names, a message on the inner sole. Real personal touches all over them, and a special touch from Adidas to me. You leave a legend, you'll return a hero. The city of Liverpool is always with you. You'll never walk alone. Flattering, but nice touch.
And the girls and stuff as well, obviously a bit older now in the family, like, do they recognise the importance? And
I don't think the girls do so much. They're not really massive into football or immersed in it, like I am. But certainly Leo now is casing me all the time for the latest Predator, the latest F50s, what's Salah wearing. He's very much a Predator and an F50 man. I'll let him choose for himself. But as he gets a bit older, I'd love to educate him around the Predator and the detail and why I wore them and why I stuck with them. And you know, at the right time, when he's a bit older, he'll certainly be getting passed down many a pair of these all the year, because I've kept a couple from each year myself to keep.
those, because I believe you want them in a size 10 as well, so those are your actual ones as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so going back to our conversation earlier about your top three, I think this type with the fold over tongue, the shape of the tongue, the detail on the Predator itself, the teeth, the rubber. They've obviously revamped this model in terms of the silver. It used to be white back in the day. They've definitely jazzed them up and made them more modern if you like. An incredible boot. 998 pairs, I'm led to believe. Is that right? I was gifted a pair last week, and they'll be taking pride of place. They won't be worn or touched. They'll be kept as a souvenir and a memory, if you like, because so many memories. One of the earlier Predators, one of the earliest boots that made me fall in love with Predator themselves. One of the first flip over tongues with the elastic. Beckham reminds me of Beckham, Zidane. Them players, world-class players who wore them, and I managed to wear them in the first few years of becoming a professional. I felt so good in them. I think they gave me the belief and the confidence that I belonged at that level of football. I'm still quite blessed, if you like. I still get sent the latest Predators. I still get sent the limited editions, which is, you know, nice. It's a nice touch because I feel as if I belong to Predator. I protect Predator. I've argued with competitors over what are the best boots on the market, what's the number one boot out there. I've argued with teammates, friends, what's the number one, and I've always protected this boot. So it's a special relationship, if you like. I'd like to do something eventually with all the boots I've worn. I'd like to put them in a place and put them in the right area and have a shrine, if you like, for all the Predator boots. But it is nice to be rewarded with a touch like this because the demand for them is so big.
And those are actually the ones that...
They actually come up a little bit smaller nowadays, I think, unless my feet are growing. Yeah, see, that's perfect. See, I'd have shorter laces than that normally if they were made in Germany. So we might have to be a bit creative with them. Maybe cut them, burn them. And then that elastic could always go like that around that stud. I didn't have to touch them because they'd be to the detail, they'd be right on the money, everything I'd asked for. So the shape of the tongue would be perfect, the embroidery, the laces, nothing would be hanging out, everything would be in and secure and away, so nothing would be in the way in terms of your passing or your shooting. And just looking down on them, that is perfection, looking down. See, I could go and play 120 minutes in them now, definitely.